Good evening, and welcome to the broadcast. My name is Jose Van Smith. I'm the executive producer of the IMI Right Now television show. Today, we are honored to have the distinguished Mrs. Susan Kohler, the CEO of Missoula Aging Services, followed by a special guest appearance from the distinguished author of The Little Toolbox, Mrs. Francois White. Again, we would like to welcome you to the broadcast live at the Missoula Aging Services. Good afternoon, and welcome to the broadcast. Today we have a special broadcast. We are filming at the Missoula Aging Services at 337 Stevens in Missoula, Montana. Our special guest today is the distinguished Mrs. Susan Kohler. She is the Chief Executive Officer of Missoula Aging Services. We are honored today to have her as our special guest to give us a narrative as to the past, present, and future of Missoula Aging Services. We're proud of our years, and we're proud of the work that they have been rendering throughout the years. So now, without any delay, I'd like to present to you the distinguished CEO of Missoula Aging Services, Mrs. Susan Kohler.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, I'm happy today to be able to talk a little bit about the organization. And Missoula Aging Services' mission is to promote the independence, dignity, and health of older adults and those that care for them. That has been it's been what we've been focusing on our entire existence since 1982. Lots of things have changed since the beginning. We all came out of the 1965 President Johnson's war on poverty, and it was also at the same time where he created the Older Americans Act, which is a large part that funds our organization, and Medicare and Medicaid. In fact, it's celebrating its 50th anniversary this year since it was created. So during that time, they created what was called area agencies on aging, which are like a grassroots organizations that cover the entire country. And area agencies on aging's primary responsibility is to identify the needs of older adults and those that care for them, and create plans coordinating with other organizations to address those needs. In the earlier years, the primary focus was on nutrition, and because a lot of older adults had difficulties with getting proper nutrition, largely because they didn't have the kind of money when they retired that they had hoped to. Also, a little differently in those days, people originally would, if you retired, you lived to 65, that was a pretty big deal. But they no longer, it's very different now. They started having people age longer and longer, and what they discovered is, one is issues of poverty, social isolation, and inability to get services to support them as they age. So what they did was create the nutrition program, and then other things that they created through other avenues were volunteer opportunities for older adults to use their skills and help solve community problems. And programs that resonate most across the country are senior corps programs, and they're part of the Corporation for Community Services, and they fund what's called RSVP, foster grandparents and senior companions. So they really give people an opportunity when they retire to re-engage with the community to avoid social isolation and some of those things that come with social isolation, like depression. And so it also takes those years of experience that they've had and help, whether it's helping to solve hunger in food banks, helping young children in the schools who need extra time with reading, to help older adults, older than themselves often, who are living in their own homes and unable to get out, and kind of bring the community to them and help them pay their bills, take them to doctor's appointments, and really become a companion. And that's where the name Senior Companion came from.
Wonderful, excellent. Ma'am, so we gather that you have been a service organization from the conception. Who were some of the founding fathers of the Missoula Evening Services?
Well, that was a long time ago.
Bless you.
I start by giving credit to the Missoula County Commissioners at that time.
Great.
And their perception was they wanted to create an organization, which was we are the area agency on aging for both Missoula and Ravalli County. We just tend to do business by Missoula Aging Services because it's a name that resonates better with people. And so the county commissioners decided that, and it was brilliant of them to realize that by starting an organization that focused predominantly on services and supports for older adults, then they could have a board that also could guide them in their job and their funding that they might have available for older adults, and let us prioritize those needs and issues, and then with the funding they had available, they would give it to us. The other positive method, the positive outcome of that was sharing administrative costs by having us all housed under one umbrella. And so each one of our programs and services that we offer could be separate agencies out there. And it would have, different directors, it would have different accounting systems, and this way we can share all of that under one umbrella, which really the cost efficiencies are great, along with the coordination of services between each other, because we're all wrapped in one building.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, we would like you have our support over at IMI Right Now Television. At IMI, we are essentially advocacy, we're intervention, we are referral, job placement, and fair housing. We are also would like to be considered as your television network. We're available to you 24/7. We applaud your efforts and the commitment that you have and been given to the community and the state. You have an outstanding staff, ma'am, of dedicated individuals who are committed to service. And I can bear witness firsthand because I've had the honor of being blessed by them.
Okay.
My life has been in the hands as a result of the Missoula Aging Services. From your staff members, Mrs. Teresa Raxdale, who work diligently in community services, along with Miss Ann Andre, and we have the gentleman from the Missoula Aging Service. The Meals on Wheels.
Oh yes, okay. Curtis Hammond.
Curtis Hammond, yes. And there's also your dedicated staff, the volunteers. You have a wonderful team of dedicated volunteers from Mr. Jimmy D. Jimmy D. is a retired veteran. And and there's also Mrs. Rebecca. Lord have mercy. But there's just all of the volunteers that I've met who have been a part of the Missoula Aging Services have just been exemplary, ma'am.
Well, it's very good to hear, and that's, I think we're gifted to be able to, and honored to have what we consider the cream of the crop, people who come to us to whether they're here for employment purposes or, that's where I came from, so I know that term, so.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned some really important people, and we have probably 700 volunteers that come through or are part of our organization, and we could not deliver the extent of services that we have without them. And the staff were nothing without them, because it's their dedication to customer service and person-centered that makes people walk away, feel like they were heard and helped in some manner. And one of the most important programs that's come about that I think is important to mention is what we call our resource center. And you mentioned Teresa, she is a resource specialist.
Yeah.
And so if family members or older adults themselves don't have a clue of where to go for a particular service, or what's the difference between Medicaid and Medicare, or assisted living and nursing homes, they can come to us and we can explain all of those. We're like a consumer education center for long-term care services. So when we do that, then we also help people make choices. So we have a large database of all the services in Missoula that support older adults, and we're connected statewide and we're connected nationally. So if you have a relative back in Michigan and they're needing services, we can give you some generic ideas of the types of services that might be available, and then we can connect you with a person just like us that lives in a town where your folks might live, and then get you connected so they can give you the specifics. What are the name of the home health agencies? What are the housing options in that area, etc. But we can get them started and to get an idea of what it is that they might be looking for. And we often get adult children who call us that live in other states and saying, I'm concerned about my parents, they're aging and I don't know what services are there. Could you help me, or could you go do a visit and see if they'd be willing to talk about what those services are and let us know. We're happy to pay for the services, we just want to make sure somebody connects with them. So that has been a real positive part of this organization. We call it the gateway into services. So if you don't remember a thing I said, you remember that, because you remember you can come here and find out anything you need to know about long-term care services and what it's like to grow old.
That's marvelous. In the Midwest also we use the term porting out. So and you described to the T that the process that would assist an individual and being relocated from, say, one state to the other.
Right.
And that's an excellent attribute of the Missoula Aging Services. Ma'am, what are some of the, well, at this moment we would just like to pause to acknowledge some of our credits. So if you would bear with us, we're going to pause for station identification.
Okay.
Run the camera. It's Kohler, the Chief Executive Officer of the Missoula Aging Services. Welcome back to the broadcast. We're honored again, Mrs. Kohler, for you all to allow us to be a part of the great work that is being done at Missoula Aging Services.
Thank you. I think it's important too for me to mention, other than our mission, I like to break the organization's purpose into 4 areas. One is education, which, as I mentioned, our consumer education center. We also do classes on Medicare for people who are getting ready to retire, but they don't understand the complexities of Medicare. The prescription drug coverage, it's called Part D of Medicare, is pretty complex. And if you're not computer savvy, it's particularly complex. And so we try to give classes to help people know what they're getting into and make it good choices, and so that we are only seeing people who really need that additional help to sort through it, because we will never have the number of staff available to give everybody one-on-one attention. And that's another area volunteers are very supportive in also. You mentioned advocacy for your company. Advocacy is very important to us, whether it's politically on the federal level, and the last several years in our prediction going forward, public funding for services like Missoula Aging Services is flat funding is considered a success, and unfortunately we're expecting decline from Congress towards support towards our social services as they battle over deficit issues. And then we have our own advocacy here at home at the state level in trying to ask them to be a partner financially with us and the other area agencies, there's 9 other in the state of Montana. And then we have local issues. And another aspect of advocacy that we do is a lot of public policies developed by city council, by counties, and we want to make sure the voice of older adults are represented in making those kinds of policy decisions. And then we get down to the individual who may have had a conflict with a bill and doesn't know how to handle it, and we'll advocate and help them sort through those kinds of things. So advocacy is another big aspect of us. We've already talked a lot about volunteer services. Not only does it help in the delivery of our services here at Missoula Aging, but they're in pretty much every governmental nonprofit organization in Missoula. Our older adults, at least behind the scenes, making that happen, making the mission happen in those organizations. And then the services part is the 4th one, which is the kinds of services that we offer here at the agency to help people with their independence.
Great. Ma'am, how would a person volunteer or may a person contribute or even say make a contribution to support the great work that you're doing here at the Missoula Aging Services?
Well, we actually have a volunteer coordinator, a paid staff person, so when somebody calls and says of any age, 18 and above, who's interested in volunteering with us, they go through a screening process to determine their interests and where they might work within the organization. And then we have some of the programs, as I mentioned, like the RSVP program that will deal with people 55 and above and help assess what their interests are, and then let them know and help place them like a broker almost of volunteer services for other nonprofits and governmental agencies. So the first thing is just give us a call and say, I'm interested in volunteering. You'll be routed to the right place.
And what is that number, ma'am?
728-7682. Or you can go to our website, which is www.missoulaagingservices.org. And you can look at all the services that we offer and find out what kind of program you might either want more information about or interested in volunteering with. So those are both ways that you can learn more about us and get in touch if you're interested in volunteering. But you did mention a very important point, which is financial contributions.
Yes.
And when I talk about partnerships, we have the public dollars, that's federal, state, county, city, United Way. We have our clients, the people that work with us, pay what they can afford to pay towards services. And then we do a lot of fundraising in the community, and our community is incredibly giving and supportive for us. So, for example, every year we have to raise $100,000 in order to make sure that no person who needs Meals on Wheels is put on a wait list. And so, and if it's not for the community coming to us and giving us money to help support that program, but we have a variety of programs where we need additional support. Again, if we had to rely on the public dollar, we'd be much smaller than we are. It's the giving ability of our community that allows us to expand as the demand for services expands, and it's a good partnership.
Well, that's great, and we would be honored to be able to contribute or partnering with in any way that we can at IMI Right Now Television to support the initiative of the Missoula Aging Services. We are proud of our years, and we're proud of you all. Ma'am, I understand you have a publication that is an outstanding publication. 2015 Connection. Could you expound on that publication and how might one be able to obtain that publication, ma'am?
Good question. It's really kind of our voice of the agency, Connections is, and it comes out 4 times a year. And we, anybody's interested in getting it, they can call the agency again, and we'll put you on the mailing list, or you can get it electronically, and we can send it that way. We also have, so that kind of gives you a little bit about celebrating some things that have already happened, and then giving education about some of the things coming forward that they could expect in the next couple of months that we'll be involved in. And so that's a good newsletter. We also have another newsletter we send out strictly electronically. It's called the Aging Insider, and we send that out once a month. And that one is geared for professionals or people who are interested in the field of aging. And it's only 2 pages, and it has lots of links about current stories going on and around the country and trends as it relates to aging, some conferences, webinars, and just important findings, Alzheimer's and some other things. So if somebody's interested in getting that on a monthly basis, they'll call, we'll get the email in, and they can get that too.
You sound like you're very prepared, she is the Chief Executive Officer, Mrs. Susan Kohler. Again, we are honored to have her as a guest on the Right Now television show. We are broadcasting to you all from the executive offices of the Missoula Aging Services office complex, which is located
at 337 Stevens Avenue.
Mrs. Francois White, and she's also an author. She does symposiums, and she did indicate that she would be glad to assist with any initiatives you have that might involve your constituents on the areas of concerns of her book.
Oh, good.
Which deals with anxiety and depression and guilt, and how the title of the book is The Little Toolbox. But at this moment, I would like to just briefly introduce you to Mrs. Francois White, who is a distinguished member of our broadcast. Mrs. White, would you care to address the short lady? Thank you. You might have my chair.
I will have your chair.
Thank you. Did you bring your books?
My book? Yes, and I have one for you.
Oh, I'm very
I
excited.
will sign it.
Oh, thank you.
You can
You
have
You might want to show it.
No, but you know, I mean, depression, guilt, I think that's probably a common problem, anxiety with the older community. And me, I would love in any way I can, according to your need or the need of the senior citizen, maybe get involved in your newsletter, write little article, well, maybe I can pass a couple of tools.
Oh, along with,
Yeah.
sure. I think, you know, I would be surprised if one of your toolboxes is suggestions is getting out and volunteering to help. At least it's been proven that getting out and helping others helps you.
Absolutely. Number one, it's feed your soul.
Right.
You know, I mean, and that's the big thing. I think a lot of people who get into those type of emotion, especially depression. In my book, depression is somebody who is not addressing their soul. They are not looking it and trying to find something that they lost along the way that can ignite that soul again. And helping somebody is always doing that.
Right, I think that is
and
true.
so, yeah, that's definitely, we need one another. We need to help others. It makes us feel good. I mean, when we are regular good people, helping others feel our soul and make it bigger and alive again. So, yeah, I totally agree with that, going out.
And if you can't get out, one of the things that we find is, that's what we recruit some volunteers to go and visit people, because, I mean, just if you're alive for 80 years or more, I consider it life history. And if you have any interest in it, and through the eyes of a person who's gone through 80, 90, 100 years of our society, and back to where, people are so used to, the phones and now cell phones and computers and the technology and somebody walking on the moon, and they were all around through a lot of that. It's really a treat for somebody to come and hear that as much as it is for the individual gets to share their life story.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a compassion, it's the need to drop the phone and touch somebody,
Right, right.
those touch, that communication, that exchange. And when you're with somebody, like right now, we have our little cocoon of energy, you and me,
Right.
and we're sharing that.
Right.
And that is healing. And this is a big issue.
And I think too, as older adults, and when I say that, I'm talking about people quite, in later years, probably 90s and above. The importance of reviewing your life becomes more and more important, and sharing and tying up loose ends, and where there are hurts that you can heal, you can, and to be okay with yourself that you did the best you could. We all have made mistakes in our life, and I think that's very important.
Yeah, and that's come all with being able to talk with somebody and venting maybe a little bit, and having somebody who give you a feedback, who went through the same thing, or who understand and can pick on the emotion of the person, and it's an exchange. We need that, an adult, and I think you're dealing with senior citizens or older people, but I think it's the same rule for everybody.
I agree. It takes us a while to recognize that when we're younger, how important it is. And I think sometimes it's challenging when we're spread out all over the country, or grandchildren are somewhere, kids somewhere else, and you can't get there anymore. It is a humbling time of life, and I always encourage people, it's not necessarily sending material things, gifts.
Yeah.
It is that visit, it is that phone call, and it is a much slower time, and you just have to, just to be there is a gift for both of you. So,
Absolutely.
Whenever possible, that's, I think, is very important.
And do you think that's one of the most important issues that senior citizens are facing now? Which one would be the biggest three issues they are facing? I would assume one of them might be financial.
Well, I often tell people it's not a homogeneous group of individuals. We all come from different walks and social economic backgrounds, and so there are people that have financial issues, and there are people that are financially fine, but have physical issues, medical problems. And then we just celebrated a woman's 90th birthday here, and she has as much energy as anyone. And I know a gentleman that's close to being 100, and he also very bright, and is just fascinating to listen to when he talks about the different governors we've had in the state, and during the war, and it's all very enriching. And so it just depends on the individual. Sometimes life shoots us a bad blow, but I find many older people to be quite resilient. And
about changes?
Yes, and changes. Though, at any age, people that struggle with change struggle throughout life. Those people that can say, I wish it didn't happen, or it hurts really bad, but they can still pick themselves up in that resiliency. I think they get through life a little better.
They have a drive.
They have a drive, but nothing like money.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you're poor and you don't have any help. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's wonderful.
Pardon me, Joel, I didn't mean to be rude, but I mean that our photographer has to leave. Today is his birthday. JT. I mean to meet the CEO, and we just want to acknowledge your birthday. Happy birthday to you.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh.
Are you going to tell us how old you are?
It's 29.
Oh, a mere babe in the Lord. That's great.
Face the camera.
I'm sure it might not be as good as something you yourself did.
Oh, cool.
We wish you very many more, sir. And we want to thank you for the contributions you've made with us. You take that home with you, okay?
I want to see,
But-
I want to see.
Yeah.
I'm as excited
Bless his
as
heart.
he is. Oh, beauty.
Oh, wow.
That's
That
pretty
was
cool.
delicious.
Can we see it?
That's really nice.
Oh, wow.
That's pretty cool.
Bring it up a little closer to the camera.
Thank you.
Oh, right now, TV. Happy birthday, JT.
Yes, thank you.
Who's 29? Is that me?
I thought you knew that.
No.
All right.
Well,
So we gotta get to work though.
yeah.
Well, pleasure meeting.
Duty calls.
Nice to see you and see you again, I know.
Oh yes.
You have a good day.
Yep. Thank you. Okay.
Sir, we want to wish you a happy birthday.
Ah.
Don't you
You're
drop
good.
that. God bless you. Thank you.
Yeah.
You all take 5 because we're just going to take 5. We're going to keep it running. What I want to say is we need to wrap some of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so
I
can
need
we,
you to come up with some hardball
Okay.
pitches. All
to
right?
say, yeah, okay.
Well, just to kind of sum up,
Sure.
where we are, some of the initiatives that you want to see done at Missoula Aging Services. When you got any benefits plan, okay? So we'll know where to go.
Okay,
And then we're gonna sign off, and
okay,
it's a great show.
okay.
All right.
You think 5 more minutes? Or
Yeah, yeah. Is
I'll
that,
let
can we
Paul
do?
know he's downstairs.
Can we do 5? Can we get 5 more? I mean, will
Five
Yeah,
very good.
please. Okay.
Okay,
Do I
Uh,
stay?
No, I'm
sit
gonna
here?
need.
Okay.
First of all, I want to thank you here, but you can sit over here.
All right.
you don't sit on his hat.
Yeah, please. Oh no. I gotta sum up with her. That's why I need you, if you will, you can man the camera. Just make sure we're focused. Okay, she's gonna, yeah, we're getting ready to sum up the broadcast. And that's one, Doctor, get your final thoughts on this segment. Okay, give me a cue. No,
Or you want it tucked down or
yeah, don't be afraid of it.
No, I'm fine.
Okay,
It's
and see
fine.
it? Yeah, the Hamlet. Yeah, make sure you got her right.
You
and
want
then-
her only her? or-
Well, yeah, essentially, I want you to, you can see me, but you want to focus on the chair.
Do you want to do it? Because
I
you're,
don't.
yes,
I
it
don't.
seems
I
like
just-
you do.
5 minutes. But, hey,
And you can.
She used to be in that business.
Yeah, I
just
can
wanted to-
tell.
Okay,
She's
cool.
better than I am.
all right, well,
You're welcome. You can do it.
give me an imaginary cue,
Okay.
say on 3.
3, 2, 1.
Thank you, and welcome back to the broadcast. Again, today we are honored to be filming at the Missoula Aging Services since 1982. I'm sure we all can agree we're proud of our years, and we're honored to have the distinguished Mrs. Susan Kohler, the CEO of Missoula Aging Services, who given us to give us our final thoughts. In fact, and mention some of the initiatives that you have going forward, and ways of how we might be able to contribute, support, or may even make donations.
Sure, I think that we just finished our 4-year strategic plan, and moving forward, I think important parts, we can't do this by ourselves. It takes a community, and what we're trying to do is make sure that as people age, we walk with them in that process. And it's different for different people and what their needs and wants are. We're focusing on a couple of areas, veterans, and making sure that they can stay at home for as long as possible. And we also are following people out of the hospital when they're discharged, to help them, and I speak with people that are Medicare A and B, when they come out of the hospital, to make sure they understand their discharge, instructions, the medications they're supposed to take, get to their primary physician as soon as possible. These are all ways that help people be successful.
Transportation?
And help adding transportation, and that'll be always a big issue, and we're trying to look at some new ways to find transportation options for people who need to get to doctor's appointments and things, and that'll be something we'll be focusing on in partnership with our current transportation system in the next few years.
Great, great. Again, ma'am, where might we send our checks or donations to?
You certainly can send them to Missoula Aging Services at 337 Stevens, and you can also go on our website, www.missoulaagingservices.org, and there's a Donate Now button, and you can go through a secure website and make your donations through there also. And we welcome people to just walk in and chat with us and find out wherever they feel they want to put their resources towards.
Marvelous. Again, those who may choose to volunteer, where should they, where would you, how do they,
They need to just call us.
Process?
Just call us.
And that number again?
728-7682, and we will help direct them to the right area. And anything that we do, if you just call us, we'll help direct you to the right area.
Super. Ms. Kohler, we trust that this won't be the last time that we have this opportunity. It's been marvelous meeting with you. We are honored again to have have an interview with the distinguished CEO of Missoula Aging Services, Ms. Susan Kohler. And again, for those of you who want to choose to volunteer, get in touch and dig deep in your pocket, in your hearts and in your pockets, and show them some love. They've been out here serving the community forever, and we're grateful to them. And we wish you the best and continued success.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you for appearing on our broadcast.
My pleasure.
That was marvelous.
Okay.
Awesome.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you.
Wow.
I could see
That
the
was
smile
great.
on
You're a
your
natural.
face.
Again, thank you all for tuning into the broadcast. We are honored to have Mr. Susan Kohler, the CEO of Missoula Aging Services, to appear on the broadcast live at Missoula Aging Services. And again, we would like to urge our viewing audience to support the Missoula Aging Services, be it through volunteer services or contributions. Again, thank you for watching the IMI Right Now television show.